Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and Assalamu alaikum as we welcome you to the latest QTalks, a very special edition, a Middle East North Africa edition of online conversations about the future of water powered by KTM. As for those of you who have tuned in beforehand, these 30-minute sessions are really designed to be bite-sized, engaging, digestible, shorter discussions so you can enjoy them over a coffee break or even on demand at a later date. My name is Tom Freyberg. I'm an environmental journalist and content creator specializing in water, and I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes. So today we are addressing the topic of water management in the Middle East and North Africa, and we are asking the question of whether we are indeed entering a brave new world. To provide some context, the region only has around 1% of global freshwater resources, and water demand continues to grow from multiple directions, from cities, industry, agriculture. As well as our panel of experts providing viewpoints on water strategy, we also want to find out where digital innovations fit as the system really needs to evolve. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by a stellar panel of experts where you'll hear case studies from specific countries such as Morocco and Jordan, and as well as the wider region. So I'm pleased to announce we have Hassim AlNasser, the researcher and chair of the Urban Water Security Working Group from the IRWA. We have Hassim AlNasser, chair of the Middle East Water Forum. And last but not least, we have Sharafat Afellal, who is the former minister in charge of water for the government of Morocco. Welcome, Hassan, Hassim, and Sharafat. Thanks for joining the panel today. So, as is usual with the QTalks, if ever you have any questions, whether you agree, disagree, please feel free to type in the questions or your comments or remarks in Vimeo as well as LinkedIn, and we'll try our best to get through them over the course of the QTalks. So we want to kind of start, I guess, on the strategic side, and then we'll come into where digital fits. And so I think it's best to start with Dr. Hassim AlNasser, because you had a very privileged position of working and developing what could be called the long-term vision of Jordan's water sector, as well as the agriculture sector. So I want to kind of bring you in first on perhaps how you saw the future of water and what changes you brought in during your time there as the minister.
Well, in scarce water countries like ours in the Middle East and North Africa, where people live under water poverty line with severe water shortages, the water challenge is a very serious one with impacts on sustainability, the environment, and the socio and economic development of the people as well as the country. So water and water strategies under such a complex matter address so many water-related matters, and we have to work in several fronts to alleviate part of the water shortages, starting with demand management, for example, campaigns for water conservation, raising efficiency. In some cases, we had to increase water price and raising public awareness. When it comes to supply management, also we work on so many supply water projects like groundwater, surface water development, desalination plants, water and waste water reuse programs, as well as building and construction of dams. All of these measures and actions and strategies for one aim, which makes better wash services for the people, protecting the environment, and also making priority of the scarce financial resources available to the countries. So this is in brief how we work when it comes to water scarcity in general in the Middle East and in particular in Jordan.
Hassim, thank you. As you mentioned, it's a very nuanced, complicated political thing in terms of water strategy. So we're never going to dig too much into the detail the next 30 minutes. But thanks for giving us the overview. And you mentioned about raising efficiency, which we'll come on to very shortly afterwards. So let's throw to Sharafat then, because similarly, you were a minister in charge of water between 2013 and 2018. So can you describe how you saw long-term planning for water and perhaps some of the changes that you helped to influence and implement as well? Oh, Sharafat, you're currently muted. If you could turn your microphone off to mute. There we go.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak about the water policy in Morocco, specifically strategic planning, which is the main milestone in water policy. Morocco has adopted a long-term planning in water policy since its independence through the mobilizing water through the big dams. I think we could qualify Morocco as a model in the North Africa in terms of mobilizing water in the big dams, storage dams. Uh, and we have adopted a long planning strategy as stipulated by the water law. As a result of this planning, we have the National Water Plan, which is considered as a reference framework for all the decider and the policymaker. This National Water Plan describe all the measurements and the project and the program should be done to secure water access for long term in Morocco. And this Moroccan National Water Plan based on three pillars, mainly in three pillars. First, the dam management and modernizing the the water supply system, even in agriculture and the drinking water, by raising and improving efficiency in the pipeline, in the long pipeline. The second pillar is mobilizing additional water by dam construction, by improving, accelerating investment in non-conventional water, desalination, reuse, and other rainfall harvesting. The third pillar, the last but not least, it protecting water from any kind of pollution and adaptation to climate change. The three pillars for the strategic planning of Morocco. Basically, in the context of climate change and with the succession of long period of drought, we have to. It is crucial to review the basic of planning. I think not only in Morocco, but on the all MENA region, as we are using the all data, which is not correct now by the regulation of rainfall, by the succession of the long period of drought. We cannot rely the old data to project in the future. We have to revisit and review the way we calculate the allocation, the way we plan, we calculate the need of water in the future, and we should include the climate change dimension in our strategic planning, as it is crucial not only for Morocco but for the all MENA region.
Sharafat, thank you for the details on the three pillars, and I absolutely think you're right. We need to look at new ways and new data streams in order to help better predict the future, you could say. So let's bring in Hassan then, because you've worked across the wider region, including Jordan and Morocco. Can you perhaps very quickly reflect on what the previous speakers have said? And do you see any particular policy strategic plans as progressive in your views?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. I think as Dr. Hazim said, this is a region is the most water scarce region in the world. But this region, with its policies facing the fundamental challenge of doing more with less, it's not an easy endeavor because the region has already, in terms of increasing demand, has a population growth that increased this triples from 1970 in the last 50 years, and with climate extremes such as floods and droughts. And even the strategies are hampered also by many challenges and not also combined by proper consideration for how or by whom they will be implemented and how they will be financed. So what you will see in today in this region, and according to the UN reports, that the Arab region is off track to almost all water-related sustainable development goals. And this is really in the region we need to rethink the way our policies also is designed in the region, and to make also water at the forefront of our priorities. And this has to be reflected in the policies, not only in the strategies to have it is more optimistic, but also to see how we can really finance this, how we can bring all stakeholders in order to implement it. And for that, I think there is really a need for a new paradigm to achieve water security and sustainable development in our region. This mainly to say changing the way we manage water from this linear systems of use and dispose to circular economy model to change the way we finance water today, because we need to 3 to 5 times of the capital investment of today, and also the policies that we needed to be dynamic. As you know, also one of the major challenges in the region is that 2/3 of our water is coming out from outside the region, with also implications on transboundary issues, especially if you are talking about Egypt, where I come from. 95% of our water is coming outside the region. So strategies should be also dynamic and also reflective to what is happening today. Thank you.
Hassan, thank you. Yeah, well, I think you use very action-driven words. We need a paradigm shift. And also you mentioned about the UN sustainability goals by 2030. So really there's an urgency, and you could say time is ticking with respect to those goals as well. So then perhaps that's a really nice segue, because you've given us a bit of a reality check that I was hoping to segue into the next point, and that's really around the need to modernize supply systems. So if we look at the strategy and the long-term planning, actually what is happening on the ground in terms of translating that investment into changes and improvements in the services that are delivered. So let's come back to Dr. Hassim and Jordan, because I'd like to see and really hear from your time as minister what changes you saw then in terms of the water supply systems and the investments going in, and whether perhaps that urgency happened quick enough.
Well, efficient and reliable water systems are a key factor for efficient management and resource utilization. In our countries, where we have to transfer water over long distances with intermittent water supply, which means we pump water once a week for the people, and the pipes keep empty for another 6 days, and we come back again and pump water again to the people. Our water systems become overwhelmed, and they need rehabilitation and renewing it from time to time. And sometimes, or most of the time, we use the opportunity to introduce new technology and technologies, smart system, while we are renewing these systems. Definitely, what's new in this business is the component of IT and smart systems, etc. Because pipes are pipes and pumps are pumps, and been there for the last maybe 30 or 40 years. So what we do is we introduce the IT to the water system to make them more reliable, more efficient, to conserve water and to minimize losses and to help people getting water on a timely manner. Definitely, renewing water system is a challenge by itself, especially in urban areas. Cities like Amman, for example, with 4.5 million people, crowded with so many refugee camps. In order to change pipes and make a new water pumping station, it's really a nightmare. And it takes time, and most of the time, these projects are delayed because we cannot work inside crowded cities with so many people and with so many things that we have to do. Also, with a smart water system, the challenge is the existing infrastructure is not suitable for smart water system. And for that, if you have the infrastructure, you need a new generation of experts and technicians who can run such a system. And for all of that, you need huge financial resources, which is in most of the cases in countries like ours not available. So this is in brief about water system and the challenges that we can or we faced during the last period.
Hassim, thank you. I think it's interesting to hear about perhaps the day-to-day challenges of the intermittent supply, but also it's not just about the technology, it's about the people and the expertise and the capacity building that also needs to be there, and an investment that shouldn't be forgotten about as well. So yeah, we'll come on to a bit more detail on the digital side as our kind of third part of this discussion. But Sharafat, in Morocco, I mean, you mentioned the National Water Plan from doing a bit of research. There was billions earmarked across the country for the modernization of the water supply. where did you see this happening, and where do you think there's perhaps opportunity for low-hanging fruit to be picked?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question. Could you
No
please
problem.
repeat?
So yeah, Sharafat, we're talking about the modernization of the water supply system. So during your time there in the government, and with the rollout of the National Water Plan, where have you seen the kind of the developments happen more quickly?
Yeah, please. Modernizing the water supply is included in the national water plan as a component of all the program that should be done to increase and improve the performance of the network, to improve performance of the all water deliver chain. But to be frankly, the operator doesn't pay enough attention to this issue. They prefer to invest in extending network, in doing building other treatment plants, in delivering water to other areas, instead investing in improving performance and raising the efficiency in the network. And it's not good anymore, because we could save water, we could optimize investment, we could reduce energy consumption by doing action in the network, and modernizing and using smart solution and the big data solution as well, to optimize the losses and reduce the losses in the network. And should be and this issue should be we should raise the awareness for the policymaker and decision maker to allocate more budget and more fund to this issue, even it's included in the water policy, but the operator, they don't pay enough attention. We have in some area the performance at least that 50%, and it is really bad for a country like Morocco, like Jordan, like Egypt, who are suffering from the water scarcity, to lose water in the pipeline. And for that, we should connect the water stakeholders and the technology society, and work together to find the easy way to improve first the awareness about that issue, and to find the solution, the smart solution that could be more helpful for the operators, for the utilities, to increase the performance in the network. We could save enough water, too much water, by reducing the water losses in the pipeline. And we should allocate more budget and more fund in that issue, not only for Morocco, but also for the whole MENA region.
Thank you so much. So it seems like there needs to be more investment and focus on reducing non-revenue water and water loss, even though it's mentioned in the National Water Plan, moving forward. So let's bring in Hassan to perhaps close off that middle section then. Hassan, because I've seen some of your progressive research and experiences actually on that topic on non-revenue water management. So would you sort of echo Sharafat's thoughts then, in terms of that's where there needs to be more of an urgent focus, stopping the losses as a part of the improving water supply?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. I think there is no one single solution for the complex problems that we had in the Arab region. You know, one of the major, as we say, one of the most water scarce region in the world, 50% of their water is being lost. And this is estimated about 15 billion cubic meter per year is being lost. And this is due to physical losses and commercial losses in the network. And this is not far even short of the total installed annual desalination capacity of 17 billion cubic meter. So it means it means that we have to work on both sides, in the supply and also in the demand side management, to reduce these high levels of non-revenue water with a holistic approach. And actually, what is a problem, which is really a chronic in the region, is mainly about the intermittency of water supply. We need to look, if we wanted to achieve really the SDG 6 and really modernize the water sector in the region, we need to shift the intermittent water supply to continuous water supply, with really a good and sustainable water management, with working on the demand side management to reduce this high levels of the non-revenue water and improving the efficiency of the network. And this is really a huge task for the region that really needs all water stakeholders to really work together to implement this. Strategies also to be implemented and the finances that needed for that, and also integration. Integrated solutions are really important, and implementing the integrated water resources management is really crucial for the region, because most of our systems in the region are really linear, and 80% of our wastewater is being discharged to the environment without getting use of it. And this could be a good opportunity for the region to improve the system and close the water system by including wastewater as a new source for water supplies in the region.
Hassan, thank you very much. So an integrated approach that's looking at perhaps the demand side and the supply side management as well. So yeah, apologies for the background noise. I think there's actually some construction work going on, maybe even a water pipe rehabilitation outside this very window. There you go. So good timing. So we want to bring in, I think all of you have touched on digital, smart, and particularly on this discussion, kind of data in the cloud and thoughts on that as a business model, as a perception in the region. So let's kind of turn the discussion on to digital and digitalization. Perhaps Sharafat, we can start with you. And there is a question that we'll come to eventually if we have time on smart metering as well. So I get the question for you, Sharafat, is, where is the opportunity when it comes to digital tools and solutions from your perspective within Morocco's water sector?
Yeah, digitalization and big data is one of the emerging topics that take place recently, not only in Morocco, but I think in all parts of the world. Using big data as a solution could be very helpful for the policymakers to reduce losses, to increase performance, and to modernize and optimize using human as a resources. And the problem that we face is the data in itself. We should have a unique access to data. We have a fragmented data between all stakeholders. We do not have a really harmonized data for a state. Each one work in itself. Each stakeholder will work with its own data. The first step should take it. We should harmonize all data between all stakeholders and make a unique platform at the state level, and facilitate access to data, and to be more open to use the smart solution and be as a digitalization solution to connect the technology society between the water sectors, and that could be very helpful. In Morocco, of course, we have many operators that are using digitalization as a solution to manage their the way they manage water, but not enough, not really enough. And the funding is crucial in this, and we are asking more donors to support countries and to encourage them to be more open to smart solution and the big data solution that could be very useful for the countries who are suffering from the water scarcity. And we could optimize time, we could optimize money, we could optimize reduce losses by using smart solution and big data solution.
Sharafat, thank you. So there's clearly an opportunity to harmonize and use data as a connecting force for good, as opposed to having these different pockets of innovation and bubbles that are not connected. So let's bring in Hassim from Jordan, because you mentioned in terms of more detailed granular data with long-term planning. Where do you see this going in Jordan? Do you see similar challenges to what Sharafat's just said in terms of fragmentation of different data sets and companies using that?
Well, definitely the water issue in Jordan is a very chronic challenge. The Jordanians will have to live with it for many, many years to come. Because Jordan, as you might know, is one of the most scarce water countries in the world. And definitely there is no magic solution for that water shortage problem unless we have the financial resources needed to do major water transfer projects and desalination plants, which is not the case. As Jordan living under severe water scarcity conditions with availability of resources per capita at a minimum among all users worldwide, Jordan relying on innovation as a game changer to the growing water scarcity. And over the last years, in cooperation with some regional countries, Jordan introduced new technologies, for example, in irrigated agriculture, where we started to use at the farm level moisture content smart water systems that can tell farmers to stop irrigation. And do you hear me?
Hassim, yeah, we can hear you talking about the smart irrigation development in Jordan.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this kind of smart water solution saved a lot of water on the side of the government, but also on the farmers' financial burden. Another matter of technology that Jordan used over the last few years is the leak detection programs. Now we can know exactly when we have a problem with the pipe, where are the leaking pipes, so we can respond quickly with the smart solutions to minimize water losses. And so many other aspects of new technologies. But as I said before, we are trying to use the opportunity, but still we have obstacles that I mentioned to you before. But in general, Jordan is working in so many fronts at short and long term with actions and measures to minimize or to alleviate water shortages with the aim of providing enough water for Jordanians and farmers in such a scarce water country.
Hassim, thank you very much. I think it's interesting the link over to from smart water to smart agriculture. I mean, using 70-80% of the water supply in the country. Needless to say, there's big savings in water there that would increase water availability for everyone else. So thank you. Okay, Hassan, in terms of digital, I've seen you've authored many papers on digital developments and digital twins, and you've got kind of a broader view across the region. So maybe let's drill that in terms of where you see the role of digital companies and even perhaps software as a service on the cloud, and perhaps some of the perceptions and overcoming that. Give us some of your perhaps expertise that you've seen recently.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. I think what we are calling in this era for digital transformation for the water sector. But one lesson that we have learned from the continuing failures of water reforms in many countries, especially in our region, is that we must look before we jump. And this means we look at the strategy, not to the technology, which is driving the transformation of the water sector. And actually, what we need exactly is really a holistic approach, not only to focus on the technology side, but focusing on people, focusing on the policies, focusing on the institutions that working in order to have them the capacity. And the major challenge for the region is mainly about two major issues. One is about the financial capability of the sector to implement such solutions. And the second is mainly about the fear from cybersecurity. If we happen many times in our countries to share their data and to make it in cloud based, but it's really illegal even to make it like this with international clouds or something like this. And this is really holding us back. And this is really wants from our decision makers and also all water stakeholders to really work on this with really developing a holistic strategy to work on this. And this with digital transformation, it can really make a big progress in our region to transform intermittent water supply to continuous water supply in order to make informed decisions and to make really a livable and physical representation of all water systems in front of the decision maker so they can act swiftly and make better decisions and also policies in the future. Thank you.
There's perhaps opportunity and the need for policy reform when it comes to how international cloud security is perceived as well. But that's perhaps for a longer separate discussion as well. So we have had a couple of questions come in. We're not going to have time to answer all of them, but I'd like to just throw this one to, so we've got one from Youssef Boudra from Eau de Marseille, Maroc, is asking, what is the strategy of the Kingdom of Morocco regarding smart water metering? So Sharafat, if maybe you could take that on. So
yes, I saw the question. I include some of the response during my intervention. I think Morocco is very open to using smart water metering. We are willing. The government is willing to be open, to be more open to using smart solution, but not really. We are at the beginning stage. Though we could not say that we achieve the goal, but it should take more time to generalize those smart solutions, especially for the agriculture department and also for the drinking water network. But the problem is, as say Hassan, is securing the data and prevent any cyber attacks for this, and harmonizing all the data between all stakeholders. This is maybe the main challenges for all the stakeholders, including operators, to be more open to using smart solution and smart water metering.
So it seems collating and harmonizing that data, perhaps a policy change on the cybersecurity side could potentially unlock and lead to smart water solutions in the countries. Well, thank you very much to the panel. We have had another couple of remarks and questions come in, which we'll try and come back to on the LinkedIn discussion to keep that going. I want to give a big thank you to Hassan, Hassim, and Sharafat for very succinct and expert advice on the strategy as well as the digital developments. We want to thank everyone listening as well and tuning in for the latest QTalks. Please remember to like and share this recorded on-demand session with your colleagues and friends. And we look forward for everyone tuning in to the next one next month. And a big thank you to our panelists. Thank you.